Adoptees struggle with gratitude because we are told that the trauma that we have experienced is something that we should be grateful for. How does that make sense? Our loss as adoptees is the only trauma in the world where victims are actually expected by all of society to be grateful. That is a quote by Kenneth C. Griffith. And I just want to talk about it. I want to bring awareness to it. It is a word, gratitude is a word that a lot of us adoptees kind of consider as a bad word. You should be grateful. There's a book written about it by Angela Tucker. I highly recommend y'all read it. It is something that we really need to consider as a society. Is trauma, the trauma that we experienced, something that we need to be told by society that we need to be grateful for? No. Imagine an infant being born and immediately taken from their mother, never to be able to see her again. Seriously, this was the baby scoop era, early 70s when I was adopted. This is exactly what happened. We were basically birthed and then whisked away into the nursery and not able to, hold on just a minute, not able to see our birth mother. So all of that to say, that isn't something that I want to be told to be grateful for. But also, I think it's important to understand that not all adoptees who talk about this are angry. It's for me, it's more of a level of sadness that I feel and loss that I feel about this. After 4 different caregivers in the first 7 weeks of my life, it impacted me. It impacted my development. It impacted my neurology. It impacted my body. And my body ended up remembering this. Later in my life is when everything began to surface and I started recognizing that my body was holding so much. I had, at this point, psoriasis that turned into psoriatic arthritis. I had a bunch of issues going on in my shoulders and my neck, which I learned later had to do with my voice and not being able to speak and not being heard. My hips were holding so much. It literally, like so many things that I learned about my body, my trauma was held there. It is so unbelievably important that we recognize how our bodies hold the things that we experience. And until we are able to understand, interact, embody, integrate, release that trauma from a body perspective, not from a mind, not from talk therapy. Honestly, that doesn't work for trauma. What works for trauma is an embodied practice. And so I say all of this because I want so much to be able to take back that word gratitude. I have a free Facebook group it's private for adoptees where I do a Thankful Thursday live every Thursday because for me, gratitude has been a life changer. Because I've been able to really focus on the things that light my day up. I don't need to focus on my trauma. That isn't what this is about. It's about acknowledging it and knowing that it's impacting us and figure out what are the things that I need to do in order to move forward to become the human that I've been created to become and not stuck in that trauma. So the reason why I wanted to talk about this today is because I think it is so unbelievably important for us adoptees to recognize that we can be grateful for whatever we want to be grateful for. We don't need to be told what we need to be grateful for. And I honestly could say that I am grateful for the trauma that I experienced because I have learned so much from it now. And because of what I have learned from all of those different triggers, as they have taught me what I need to learn, I now can help others realize that the answers are within them. They don't need other people to accept them in order for them to be okay. Acceptance comes from within. Self-acceptance is something we need to offer ourselves first. Once we change our energy within, we begin to attract the energy that we want without. So all of that to say, it was just something that I really felt like I needed to talk about today. I have a really hard time when I think about the fact that in a lot of ways, and this is a big statement, but we are kind of a marginalized community. There's 5 million of us in the United States. That's about 3% of the population. We are, and this is a low stat, y'all, 4 times more likely to commit suicide and 2 times more likely to have an addictive behavior. I mean, that tells you something. It's a population that needs to be heard and understood and seen and witnessed and not told that we should be grateful. So, because the bottom line is we are. Of course we are. Depending upon our adoption, some people definitely aren't because they had horrible adoptions. I had a great adoption, of which I am very grateful for. I have great parents that raised me. That doesn't negate the fact that the first 7 weeks of my life were very traumatic for me. Having 4 different caregivers, even before I was born, my birth mother attempting to abort me twice, all of those things impacted present behavior for me, but I didn't even really know that because it was all pre-verbal. So all of this is stuff that we need to begin to acknowledge and not degrade other adoptees because they feel this way. It's their life experience. Maybe take time to learn about this. Maybe take time to listen to adoptees instead of tell them that they should be grateful. I just noticed a comment where he said, my birth parents ditched me the second I was born. Well, the exact same thing happened to me. She didn't ditch me. I was taken from her and put into the nursery in 1973. And from there, I went to foster care. And from there, the foster family could no longer accommodate me. So I went back to the state until they could find somebody on the top of the stack that could actually take me. It literally is a game of chance. It isn't about being chosen. And I think the important thing for us is to be able to acknowledge, recognize, realize the loss that we suffered when we were placed. We were not kept, we were placed, given up, whatever it may look like. I mean, honestly, even though you were lucky and were adopted that same day, I'm working with a client right now who was adopted at 2 days, and he's carrying a lot of the same things. It's really, really challenging for any adoptee to have been given up by their biology. I just want to let that land for a minute. As an adoptee, we go from biological family to non-biological strangers. So you can imagine the difficulty for our nervous systems to be able to feel settled with somebody we weren't with for 9 months. That's the truth. So these are valid things, but that doesn't invalidate the fact that some of us had great adoptions, had great parents that took us in. But my mom that raised me told me that within the first 24 hours, I slept the whole time. She couldn't wake me up. I don't even know what that means, and I'm not trying to make meaning out of it, but it says something. She tells me that I stiff-armed her as an infant, wouldn't let her touch me, wouldn't let her comfort me, wouldn't let her nurture me. Well, it makes sense. I didn't know her. I only knew my birth mother. That does not mean that I would have been better off with my birth mother. I don't think I would have been. However, if there is a way for us to reform adoption to allow the birth mother to get the economic support and help versus giving that money to the adoption industry, I think things would potentially be different. I don't have all of the answers. All I know is that I really desperately feel called to help adoptees understand that loss that they experienced in those first weeks, days of their lives, and help them to be able to find belonging within themselves. I feel like that is why I've been put on this earth. And so anyway, thanks for listening. Trauma does not equal gratitude for us. Trauma is something that we need to learn from and be able to recognize its impact in order to be able to grow from there. There is post-traumatic growth. It does exist. I've seen it in my own life. It is definitely possible. So all of that to say, thank y'all for watching my live, and I hope you guys have a fabulous day. Peace.